All right, welcome, editor of the LaFollette Press, and we're glad to be here for our LaFollette Press, LaFollette Mayor's candidates debate. We're glad to have the three candidates for LaFollette Mayor in the November election: Bill Archer, Joe Bollinger. Is it Bollinger? Is that the correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I answered to the other one too.
Oh, okay. and then Cliff Jennings. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so the format tonight will be similar to the way we've done it in the past. All the questions, except for two, will each candidate will have a 3-minute response time, and if a candidate is alluded to or mentioned by name, they'll have a rebuttal period of 1 minute. There'll be two questions that'll be more yes or no type questions. Candidates will have 30 seconds for those. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with our opening statement. The candidates are aligned in alphabetical order, so we start with Mr. Archer. Mr. Archer, 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Well, I'm Bill Archer, candidate for mayor of the city of LaFollette. I was raised here all my practical life. Like I said, my only interest is in the best interest of LaFollette. I don't have no wishes to make any gains for myself or anything, as I'm sure the other candidates are too. But I want to see LaFollette progressed, and right now we're at a standstill, in my opinion. And things can be done that can help us.
Thank you, Mr. Archer. Moving on, opening statement, 3 minutes, Mr. Bollinger.
Yes, thank you for having me. And I am Joe Bollinger, candidate for mayor of the city of LaFollette. I am pretty much a staunch Republican candidate. I am conservative, but I'm forward-thinking. I've served on a lot of different things through the years. I too would like to see LaFollette progress forward and not backwards. And there's a lot of stuff out there that can be done. And if I'm elected, I'll be pushing those things to be done. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bollinger. And then lastly, Mr. Jennings, 3 minutes opening statement.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to thank the press for inviting us and giving us the opportunity to come before the people that will be voting for us and will be making that decision. Over the years, there has been many for me. I am proud of the fact that I am the largest too, but the longest consecutive serving mayor in the history of LaFollette, a record of which I'm very proud of. During this debate, we're going to be discussing a lot of things that we accomplished during my tenure as mayor. And I want the public to know that Cliff Jennings did not do it by himself. Over the years, I've had some great council people. I have had at least 2 super administrators. So I had help. But the biggest thing is leadership, picking that up and taking a council you can work with and moving our city forward. And I humbly ask for people's vote and support again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. And I should have mentioned in the beginning, but we'll I guess change who starts each question as well, so that not everybody's starting.
I think that what do you want to be LaFollette's mayor has done been answered mostly.
Yeah. Well, we'll give everybody a chance to flesh it out a little bit. We'll start this one with Mr. Bollinger. Why do you want to be LaFollette City Mayor?
Well, I'm running for mayor, as I said previously, to help move LaFollette forward. I want to be a mayor for all the people and not just for a select few. I want to listen to their concerns. Our city has deteriorated somewhat in the last couple of years. Our city needs to be cleaned up. We need to get the crime rate down in check. We're getting serious about our drug participants, vandalism, and also burglary. A lot of people comes home, they find stuff missing, and they never do get to recover it. And I'd like to see that changed.
Thank you, Mr. Bollinger. Mr. Jennings, same question. Why do you want to be LaFollette City Mayor?
Well, I've spent half of my adult life in the city politics. I've devoted a lot of time, effort to making my city a better place to live, to work, and to play. And I think I am qualified to do that. I think through my record and experience, as we will be discussing, that I can do that. I think the present council needs a little help with a little leadership and a little direction. And I feel like I'm competent, capable, and can fulfill that obligation. So I would like to be your mayor again.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. And we'll round out this question with Mr. Archer. Why do you want to be LaFollette City Mayor?
Well, Alexis, I've been in the city council for several times, dating way back, and I know the ropes, how to get grants, what to do, but we got plenty of room for progress in LaFollette, and that's all I want. I want to see our young people be able to look out and say, well, I might get a job in LaFollette instead of having to leave.
Thank you, Mr. Archer. And now the next question, what are your qualifications for being LaFollette Mayor? We'll start this one with Mr. Jennings, 3 minutes.
Well, it's pretty obvious. I served 6 years as LaFollette City Councilman. I served 17 years as your mayor and 4 years as your county commissioner. So I've been chosen and picked often, and I'm thankful for that. And out of those years, we balanced budgets. We paved every road in the city at one time, and other things that I'll get on. But what I really want to say is that I want to be mayor because I can, and I'm willing to do the job.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Jennings.
you.
Mr. Archer, same question. What are your qualifications for being LaFollette Mayor?
Well, I've served several times as city councilman, never as mayor, but I can do the job. I think we got plenty of room for improvements, and I know how to do them, and I know where they need to be. So I'm willing and able to work and help the department heads get there. And that's my whole thinking is that I'm willing and able and know how.
Thank you, Mr. Archer. And rounding out this one with Mr. Bollinger, what are your qualifications for being LaFollette Mayor?
Well, I too have served on a lot of committees and stuff. I served 2 years on the Lower East section of Tennessee Water and Wastewater Association. We traveled through many counties, cities, Chattanooga, on back up through Athens, Etowah, even back up to LaFollette, and gained membership through all those years. I also attended the Tennessee College of Automation right out of high school and completed the courses that I took there and have a certificate of completion. I served on city council for 10 years. Served as vice mayor for several years. I've served on the planning commission now, I think, approaching 18 years. And I feel very qualified, and I know what needs to be done. I think the current council does need a little leadership. And, I'm a 54-year veteran of LaFollette Utilities, just recently retired. And I think I can get the job done.
Thank you, Mr. Bollinger. Moving on, we'll start with Mr. Archer on this one. What is your past political experience and job history? We talked a little bit, I guess, try to emphasize those aspects that we haven't talked about yet.
Well, political history is very long. And my father was oh Lord, he was really a political person. And he taught the boys how to do things. But I guess job experience, being the things I done early in life, were very helpful. And then I became clerk and master. I served as clerk and master for Campbell County for 38 years. And as a result, I've seen everything. And I know that I served on city council. I've served as a president of Little League. I've done it all, so I'm qualified and I'm ready.
Thank you, Mr. Archer. Mr. Bollinger, same question, 3 minutes. What is your past political experience and job history?
Well, like I said, I was employed with LaFollette Utilities, made my living there for 54 years. I recently retired on September the 29th. And I served as their supervisor of utility, drinking water, and quality control production. I also served on the county commission from 94 through 98. Served as the Building and Grounds Committee chairman. We moved the health department out of the courthouse, built them a new building, revamped the courthouse, built new schools. And I also served on city council for 10 years. Part of that is the vice mayor. And I also served on the Campbell County as a board member on the Campbell County Chamber of Commerce. And I feel very qualified. I have the time and I have the want to.
Thank you, Mr. Bollinger. And then rounding out this one with Mr. Jennings, what is your past political experience and job history?
Well, job description, I graduated from the State Area Vocational School, was the first person to get a job out of that school, and went to work for WLAF Radio. That was in 1969. It wasn't long after that I was drafted, and I went and spent my senior trip in the Mekong Delta jungles in Vietnam. After returning, I went back to work for WLAF. I worked for the local newspaper here also, and to cut a long story short, we later came back, started WQLA AM and FM here. I later had the privilege and the honor of purchasing it, and later sold it. Been very successful with the business. Tough route to go sometimes, but we did make a success out of it, so I do have business experience. I also, as you have related to, I have 6 years on the city council. I'm the longest consecutive serving mayor in the history of our community, and 4 years on the city council. So I feel like these are great fellows, but I am more than qualified to be your next mayor, and I hope to be.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Moving on, next question, starting with Mr. Bollinger on this one. How can LaFollette best attract new business?
Well, like I said earlier, we need to clean up our city, and we need to partner some with the county folks too. We're in a tight community here with the other cities across the county, and strengthen our laws and stuff. And the city has 18 acres that's sitting right on the 4-lane. It needs to be advertised all across the regions, and probably we need to go ahead and develop a engineered plan for future development. You know, it'd be nice to have a nice hotel there, some shops, men and women's shops, a nice steakhouse restaurant where people now drive to Knoxville and different places. We have the beautiful mountains and lake that attract people from all over. And you know, a lot of this development, you know, if you partner up, could be some public and private interest. And, you know, I think that we can get together. We also will need to work with our state senators and legislatures, you know, on grants to improve our city. The city now currently has a budget of approximately $18 to $19 million. There's $7 million of grants on the table. They need to be moved forward before we lose them. And, you know, that needs to take some notice to do that. And I feel like I'm qualified to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Bollinger, and we move on to Mr. Jennings. How can LaFollette best attract new business?
Well, the easiest way is keeping your tax rate low. That's certainly something they look forward to. You got to have an educated workforce, so you need to work with your county education commission to provide you with a knowledgeable workforce. On top of that, you got to have the availability of workers. If you do get someone in here, you need spec properties. You know, you need buildings, you need properties, as Mr. Bollinger alluded to. And also, it's my understanding that with the acreage over there, that they are currently working with a restaurant and a motel, and they wanted to take the back acreage and add 2 new ball fields to it, or maybe as many as 4. But let me say this. The biggest thing you have to have is someone willing to work after industry. We've had nobody working, going after industry, even from the county standpoint. Now, I understand that they are currently hiring someone to do that. But the city has not been doing that. And I'm proud about what I'm getting ready to tell you. The last industry brought into LaFollette, Tennessee was under a Cliff Jennings administration. We brought in DeRoyal. We brought in Sports South. We brought in Lowe's. We brought in Tenier. Now, when I say we, let's go back to the council. It was the council, the administrator, but everybody had the desire to go out there and go after that industry. It's not going to come to you. You better go after it if you really want it.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. And we're wrapping this one up with Mr. Archer. How can LaFollette best attract new business?
LaFollette has so much to offer. We've got the mountains, we've got the lakes, and we can, you know, we promote them, bring them, and we got people coming in. I call it the Ohio Navy comes in, and they enjoy our lakes. And we got the ATVs that enjoy the mountains. So it's going to be fairly easy to, if we get out and work to bring in industry. You got to offer them something. You got to bring them in. You got to contact them and ask them to come and look and see what we have to offer. They'll send somebody. They'll do it, and we can best do it. And we can get it. We can get it, but we got to go get it. You're not going to get nothing sitting here. You got to go try to get it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Archer. So the next question, we'll start with Mr. Jennings on this one. How do you feel about the recent council decisions regarding the LaFollette Police Department?
You know, I really don't have a lot of information about that. I haven't read their findings or know anything. So I think it would be totally unfair to the officers, and totally unfair to the mayor and council for me to comment on that, because I don't have any information to make a good, sound decision, and I don't want to be unfair to either party.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Mr. Archer, the same question. How do you feel about the recent council decisions regarding the LaFollette Police Department?
Well, it's unfortunate for people to lose their jobs, but we don't have the facts. City council at that time had the facts, I guess, but we don't. So we can't really comment positively as to anything in the police department. Maybe a legal matter that we shouldn't be discussing. I understand, but I'm not. It's just those guys at that city council meeting had facts and stuff, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Archer. And then Mr. Bollinger, to round this one out. How do you feel about the recent council decisions regarding the LaFollette Police Department?
Well, I know, like the rest of them said, what little that I've read, and I don't know. They evidently spent upwards of $19,000 to an outside concern to investigate some grievance or whatever from one of the policemen. The findings, I think, was published, or what I saw was of the findings. I can't say without being inside, where it was right or wrong. But I will say this, in recent years as I served on the council, I think we hired 3 new police chiefs. And each and every time there was applications taken, and we sorted through them and interviewed the people and made a choice from that. I don't know if that happened this time or not. I just don't really have the information to tell you that.
I did. The last police chief was appointed from the recommendation of Bill Rail, so there wasn't an open application process. Thank you, Mr. Bollinger. All right, moving on. So we'll start with Mr. Archer on this one. Okay, so this is one of our 30-second ones. Should the city, similar to what happened shortly after the 2020 election, have a roll call vote of whether to retain all the department heads one by one? And this is 30 seconds. Mr. Archer.
Well, I don't think anybody that's just come on board as a city council person can make a decision in 30 seconds as to get rid of a department head. You gotta have to see how they perform, and then meet and make a decision. But to do it in that time is.
Oh no! So 30 seconds is our time limit for this question, but so the last so I believe it was either late 2020 or early 2021 that they had a relatively new council, and they had the roll call. Well, basically they were like, this department head, do you want to retain or not? This department head, do you want to retain or not? Do you think that if they should do that this time or not?
We used to have a roll call department head meeting. I don't think we ever did dismiss anybody at the time, but it's just not fair to the person that's there to just come in and have a meeting and just dismiss them.
Thank you, Mr. Archer. Mr. Bollinger, same question. should the city, similar to what happened shortly after the 2020 election, have a roll call vote of whether to retain all the department heads one by one? And so the last time they did it, the only two people not retained were Daniel Foster and Jimmy Jeffries. Yeah, should they do that again?
Well, I think so, and you know, they do this, you know, right around the first of the year, and I think that most of the time there's a new person on. They may not know much detail about the individuals, but if you do it with a roll call, you know, it don't go for everybody. It's individually, and you know, it gives the new person a chance to hear the others and how they feel about it. And I think it needs to be individual.
Okay. So in terms of just like in terms of one by one, we mean like, because it has been said in the past that they would do a vote where it would just be like, are we going to retain all the department heads? Yes or no? And then this last time they did it one by one, and they ended up dismissing two. Mm-hmm. So that's what we mean by like roll, and the roll call in terms of like just the different council people voting. So I just want to make sure we're clear. Yeah,
I served on there, and when we didn't do the roll call, we just didn't do it individually.
Right, you did it like all the department heads. Okay, and so you would be in favor of doing that one by one?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bollinger. And then Mr. Jennings wrapping this up. Should the city, similar to what happened shortly after the 2020 election, have a roll call vote of whether to retain all the department heads one by one?
Well, the old charter said that was the case. That's the way we did it during my tenure as mayor. I have read the new charter. There is nothing to be said about that particular event. However, I think that after each election, as normal, that you should have a one-on-one for each one. But maybe for the sake of saving time, if everybody already knew that everybody's going to be elected, just lump them together. But I prefer the one-on-one, yes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Jennings. We'll start this one with Mr. Bollinger, 30 seconds. It's a question that people are always asking around these elections. Have you promised anyone a job if elected?
No, I haven't. I've had people ask me, say, you know, well, if I vote for you, will you get me a job? I said, no, I'm not your man. No, I don't do that kind of trading. And no, I haven't promised anyone.
Thank you, Mr. Bollinger. Mr. Jennings, same question. Have you promised anyone a job if you're elected?
Well, after 27 years, I never have. I've never hired one single person remotely related to me if I know of it. No, I would not do that.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. And rounding out Mr. Archer, have you promised anyone a job if you're elected?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Archer. So we'll start this one with Mr. Jennings. What goals would you like to accomplish if you're elected?
Well, the first thing I'd like to see is a little teamwork. I want to go in and I hope through my leadership and through my guidance I can create a team down there, because the mayor doesn't even vote unless it's a tie. So he has to be a team leader. If you can't get along with council, you're not going to accomplish very much. As far as the three things that I've found while campaigning that we need to work on, paving is certainly one. And I think they're taking that up or took it up the other night. The other thing is we must attack this homeless problem. Now, it is a problem, and people are getting things destroyed. They're getting things stolen, and I want to be humble and good to them, but there's a point to where it's got to stop, and we have to have a plan to stop it. I think I have that plan. And another thing, our city needs to be cleaned up. Everywhere I go, people will tell you that's one of the major problems, is the cleaning of our city. While I was mayor, we tore down or burned over 130 dwellings within the city limits of LaFollette. We rehabbed Cherry Street. We rehabbed West End. We rehabbed the project area. we did a lot, but since then, there's not been that much done, and I think we need to implement those policies again.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings.
Thank you.
Mr. Archer, the same question. What goals would you like to accomplish if you're elected?
Well, as Mr. Jennings has said, you've got to work with city council, and you got to offer them some guidance. And as mayor, you got to really push hard sometimes and let them understand what's going on. You don't have sunshine meetings. There won't be none under my guidance as mayor. And that's what's obviously, even the public can see. They made decisions, somebody made decisions outside of the scope of being in a city council meeting. It's not bad to have discussions, but do it in a workshop or something. Don't do it out secretly in sunshine violations.
So you're saying you believe that council members are meeting outside of public meetings and making decisions that would be in violation of the Sunshine Law
Yes.
currently? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Archer. And then rounding out with Mr. Bollinger, what goals would you like to accomplish if elected?
Well, like we've all alluded to, is, cleaning up the city. That's a major thing. Through the years, it's been cleaned up, and then it's lapsed back, and cleaned up again, and lapsed back. We need to have an ongoing program annually to clean our city up. I too have read the charter. I'm a person that would like to abide as strict as possible to the charter. The new one, I've read the old one and the new one, and I'm for enforcing that. I don't believe in the sunshine meetings.
You don't believe in meeting outside of, you don't believe in making decisions outside of public meetings that would be in violation of the Sunshine Law?
No, I don't. I've served before, and I've seen it happen, and we had an incident that happened in the last few years that happened in, and I just don't see it beneficial.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bollinger. It's interesting you guys are talking about the charter, because I do know that they're always mentioning revising the charter,
Right.
that being like a goal that they want to do. So that would be another like possible long-term project. Okay. So the next question, we'll start this one with Mr. Archer. What is the number one criticism of your candidacy that you've heard, and how would you respond to it?
Well, if you're running for public office, there's going to be criticism from other candidates and other people. You just have to try to overlook it and go ahead with what you got in mind and your ideals, and proceed that direction. Everybody's criticized as far as that goes, in my opinion, but you just got to overlook it and work hard to get your point across.
Is there a specific criticism that you've heard about your candidacy that you would say?
Maybe the employment of a family member in a department or something to that nature. That's the only thing I've heard. But other than that, I haven't heard any criticism.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Archer. Mr. Bollinger, same question. What is the number one criticism of your candidacy that you've heard, and how would you respond to it?
I guess the number one thing, early on, someone said, well, the only reason that you're running is to get a family member promoted. That particular item was never discussed with me or my family member. And my saying back to the people was, look, if I was going to do that, I'd probably run for council where I'd have a vote on doing something like that. I wouldn't run for mayor where, wouldn't even have a vote unless it was a 2-2 tie. Outside of that, I've not heard a lot. And I'm glad because of that.
Thank you, Mr. Bollinger. And rounding out, Mr. Jennings, what is the number one criticism of your candidacy that you've heard, and how would you respond to it?
Well, the biggest problem I've heard is a former mayor is campaigning for Mr. Bollinger here, and they are telling people that I fired the former mayor, okay, which is absolutely not true. I have the minutes of the meetings right here, and they're welcome for anybody to see, to where the former mayor was not fired. He was demoted and placed in the highest paid position in that department, or next to the highest paid position in that department. So if they've been saying that, and I've heard it on several occasions, and I want to know, Joe, that you all are lying on me, and that's not true. And you know it's not true, and you need to answer to that if you think it is. If you all are saying that, if you're not saying it, then I apologize. But I have certainly heard it.
Mr. Bollinger, rebuttal.
Well, no, I have not said that. I can't talk or speak for the former mayor, what he may have said to someone.
Okay.
You and I have served some together, and I served on the planning commission.
I appointed you.
But no, I haven't said that.
Okay.
Mr. Jennings, do you want to provide a little more context for people who might not be familiar with the situation you're referring to in terms of why you might have demoted Mike Stanfield, etc.?
Well, the smart thing to say and what the minute says is just cause. Okay? That's a problem with firing people. In Tennessee, it's the right to work law. If you give them a reason, then you must explain that reason. Otherwise, if I was going to dismiss someone, I'd say for just cause. I'd say I want to take the city in a different direction, and you do not fit in that direction. That's the way I would do. So I'm not going to get into why it happened or all that, but I just want the public to know that if they're telling you that, it's a lie. And I've got the minutes here, which I showed to you, and the public can see that it's just not true.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. So the next question, we'll start with Mr. Bollinger. How do you feel about the Big Creek Fall ATV Festival, which hasn't happened since 2019? Council has discussed it, and there's been the sentiment that the the city isn't benefiting from putting on the festival themselves because of not having the hotel motel amenities that, say, the county or Carroll do. Should the city put it on again themselves? Should the festival go away? Or should another solution be found?
Well, I certainly don't think it needs to go away. That's part of the taxes that's paid in the city for those people that come and participate in that. And they have profited some from it. There's a special place in the budget, a special budget for the monies that's come in for that. I also allude back to the 5K run. I've been talking to some of the members of that committee to try to get that started up again. Anything that you can do to bring people in, I think is very beneficial to the city. Now, whether the city needs to put that on or whether they need to hire someone outside or turn it over to someone outside to do that, our mountains and the side-by-side business and stuff is big in Campbell County and also connected over into Scott County and whatever. They spend a lot of money when they're here. And yeah, I'd like to see it continue. I know the one year they didn't put it on because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it kind of lost its way. And same way happened with the 5K run.
Thank you, Mr. Bollinger. Mr. Jennings, how do you feel about the Big Creek Fall ATV Festival, which hasn't happened since 2019?
Well, from what I understand, it was a big success. Now, what I would like to see, being I have rentals also in another county, the festival is a great thing. It's a money raiser. Stinking Creek benefits off of it. They've got a beautiful place up there. Caryville, Jacksboro, LaFollette, everybody is benefiting. So why not let's team up? Let's get with the county. And my suggestion would be this. Let's take each mayor, let he or she appoint someone to that committee, and let's make this thing even bigger, okay? Let everybody share in the profits and everybody share in the expenses. And we can make this a big thing because over in Scott County, I'm very familiar with that, and there's thousands of people that come to that. So it's got potential, and I think we need to make it a county-wide event.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Mr. Archer ran on this question out. How do you feel about the Big Creek Fall ATV Festival, which hasn't happened since 2019?
Well, I think we ought to have it, and as expanded as we have the capabilities of doing. Not only that festival, but other festivals. We are looking shortly for a building that was built to bring in teams from out of state and everywhere else in competition in basketball. Now that's going to bring in people, which causes you to have a motel, restaurants, and they have them all. But you've got to promote it. This weekend, they're having a bass tournament. Has anybody said a word about it from the city? No. We ought to be promoting that bass tournament for our high school kids out of this world. 240 some boats is going to be here. Where do we put them? How do we house them? How do we take care of them? We haven't said a thing about it. We don't, as long as there's somebody else doing the work, that's fine. But it's time that we looked at it. And as mayor, I think that we will do that. That's for sure. It's our youth that counts in this town. We're going to have to, we got age on us. We don't, it's not what I want. I want our young people to be able to do something. I want to bring them into city council meetings and let them sit with me as mayor. Bring some high school kids in. Let them be the fire chief, the police chief, and all that. But we've overlooked a lot of things that as festivals, that we have the dogwood trails. Do we make a real deal out of it? Yeah, we come down and cut a ribbon and open up with the band but do we do a lot of promotion of it? No, we don't.
Thank you, Mr. Archer. Okay, and so our next question is, we'll start with Mr. Jennings. What do you believe is the biggest problem in LaFollette?
Well, we've talked about it. It gets back to the homeless situation. It's horrendous. We need to clean our city up, as we said, Paving is a problem. And I just think that the city needs to get back to where it can have a good working relationship with the mayor. The mayor needs to go in there and be a team player, and that's the only way that he or she could move this town forward. You've got to have commitment from the council and the mayor. And the mayor's a leadership position, as I said earlier. You go in there with ideas, and you got to have the ability to convince 4 other people that your idea is the right thing. So why would I run if I didn't think I could do that? I think that the timing is perfect for Cliff Jennings to return as your mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings.
Thank you.
Mr. Archer, same question. What do you believe is the biggest problem in LaFollette?
As Mr. Jennings has related, homeless people, it's got to be addressed some manner. I don't know exactly how to do it at this point, but I've got some ideas on what to do. City's got to be cleaned up to a point, but in order to clean it up, who's going to do the work? We're going to have to either increase the number of people at the public works, or we're going to have to do something else in order to clean the town up. Public Works Department has more people every day. They got to patch holes, and this comes up, and they have to rush out and do that, or open up a drain if it rains. A lot of things, but we can do it. And like the mayor has to provide leadership to the council with ideas. And like Mr. Jennings has said, you got to convince the other four. And I think as also I can do that. I've got ideas to do it. And if I'm elected, you'll see some of them. And you'll see some changes made as far as looks of the city.
Thank you, Mr. Archer. And rounding out this question with Mr. Bollinger, what do you believe is the biggest problem in LaFollette?
Well, I think one of the biggest problems is cleaning up our city, get it more presentable. And, you know, when you're trying to get businesses and stuff to come in, you know, they see that. You know, we have quite a bit of people that are sleeping on the streets in these dilapidated houses and stuff. And to be quite honest with you, if you get to talking to some of them, they were hauled in here from other counties and placed here. Not all of them, but there's been a lot of them that way. Team building on city council, you know, you need everybody working together. The mayor needs to try to coordinate that to where that can happen if at all possible. You know, working for the utility company, I had a department to lead. I built a team there, and just as I retired on the 29th, that was one thing that I alluded to, that I'd put my group of people up against any across this state, because they are a team.
Thank you, Mr. Bollinger. All right, and we've reached the end here, so we'll give everybody 3 minutes for a closing statement, and we'll start off with Mr. Archer.
In closing, I think that I can offer city council the leadership and the ideas to make our town go forward. I've got a lot of ideas, and I think I can get them implemented through working closely with city council.
Thank you, Mr. Archer. Mr. Bollinger, 3 minutes for a closing statement.
Well, I'm running for mayor because, like I said previously, you know, I've made my living here in LaFollette, working for LaFollette Utilities. I certainly appreciate having been able to do that. I didn't have to retire. I could work right on, but, you know, I've moved aside and turned that over to someone else. I built a good team there. I too would like to build a team there with the city and city council. I don't have any access to grind with anyone there. I think I have the leadership ability and capable of doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Bollinger. And then Mr. Jennings, 3 minutes for a closing statement.
Well, once again, thank you, being the press, for giving us this opportunity. I've certainly enjoyed it, and I think we've learned a lot. I'd like to thank everyone that will be voting. I'd also like to run on my record. My record as your mayor consists of a new 7.5 million gallon water plant. I was mayor only 2 weeks when we ran out of water. We had none. We built a new water plant. We doubled the sewer capacity. We had to do all that in order to get the industry that I talked about earlier. Our recreation, we made the trade and acquired the 2 schools and sold the property where the new school is. That was one of the best moves that we ever made in LaFollette, because our recreation has expanded by leaps and bounds with 4 new gyms, and all those rooms are now rented out. So it was a very effective move. We paved every road in the city under my administration. What I'm trying to get across is that these boys say, I think I can do this. I have proven that I can do this, and I want to. I want to come back and be your mayor for at least 2 years, and let's bring our city back to the shape it should and could be in. Thank you. And I would appreciate everyone's vote and support.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for this debate. And thank you for everyone at home watching. And we will see you tomorrow for our LaFollette City Council candidates debate. Thank you.